Floyd! Floyd! I'll knock you out! He's sick, look at him.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. You may have heard that a federal judge has denied CSI's application to stop Floyd Mayweather versus Mike Zambidis. Floyd Mayweather scored a win in court as ESPN reports that a federal judge had knocked down an attempt by promotional company CSI to prevent an exhibition match against Mike Zambidis, as they had filed for a temporary restraining order as part of a breach of contract lawsuit against Mayweather. Now, the emergency injunction did manage to delay the event because it was supposed to go down the same day as Boots versus Zayas. I suppose that now that Floyd is free to have that fight, that exhibition, it will get rescheduled and put back on DAZN's calendar, its catalog, as they were going to help distribute that event. The judge indicated CSI, who planned events with Mayweather for fights against Mike Tyson and Manny Pacquiao, didn't meet their requirement of demonstrating irreparable harm, which was the threshold required to approve the restraining order against Mayweather. Mayweather's fight with Zambidis had originally been scheduled for June 27th in Athens, but the event was postponed last minute as the judge hadn't yet made his ruling on the matter. Mayweather's attorneys have said they expect to restage the Zambidis bout within the next couple of months, while Mayweather will be allowed to move forward and earn some coin from this upcoming show. He'll still have to deal with the pending breach of contract lawsuits that are still being litigated. And that's not all. He's still in the hole with the IRS for millions, and he's being sued by a lot of people. So in a word, he's not out of the woods yet, but he is able to at least earn some money from this fight, this event, though I don't know how much. How many Americans do you think we're gonna pay for this thing? How many Americans do you think are interested in seeing a close to 50-year-old Floyd Mayweather do a waltz with a little-known kickboxer from Greece? The hope has got to be that this event means more to the Greeks than it does to the Americans, because the Americans, they don't give a shit about this thing. DAZN was going to make it available for purchase on their platform and part of their ultimate tier. That gives me the impression that Floyd might have been able to get something out of DAZN. Not a lot, but they have to have reached some sort of an arrangement to be the distributor of that show. Another arm of revenue for Floyd, who desperately needs it. The bigger events involved Mike Tyson and Manny Pacquiao. The Pacquiao fight was supposed to be distributed by Netflix for a sizable dollar amount, a flat fee, not akin to what he got fighting Manny the first time, because that was a pay-per-view that did astronomical numbers, whereas the rematch, he was going to get a flat number for that one because it's not a pay-per-view, because the distributor is Netflix. I'm sure they were going to pay him something in the neighborhood of $20 million, maybe a little more than that. But given that he owes the IRS alone a whopping $7.3 million, that would have ate up a sizable portion of his purse, and that's just the IRS. It's not counting everybody else. And don't forget what Jas Mathor of Manny Pacquiao Promotions said, that he's already borrowed some money against that fight purse. Other revelations in association with Floyd is Dana White seems to have gotten involved in assisting him during this tumultuous time, branded a cancer 24 hours before Floyd Mayweather offer. What offer? Dana White had been branded a cancer for boxing by veteran promoter Bob Arum just 24 hours before the Zuffa boxing boss suggested he could help Floyd Mayweather through his reported $170 million dispute. Arum launched his latest attack on White during an interview with pro boxing fans as the 94-year-old made it clear he has no intention of embracing the UFC boss as a fellow boxing promoter.
Dana White is really a cancer for boxing because you come in and you want to get rid of all the sanctioning bodies, and we know where that's going to lead. We know what happened with Dana White in the UFC and how they made a lot of money by underpaying fighters.
As opposed to all the good fortune the boxing promoters have had overpaying fighters? Is that what Dana should be doing? To run a soluble business? Listen, I love and respect Uncle Bob, but he's the same one who once said he could have built a house on Beverly Hills with how much money he had lost on Terrence Crawford. To now get on a high horse and criticize Dana for what he pays his boys at the UFC, it's a little bit hypocritical.
They pay their fighters peanuts. They make all the money themselves. And they talk about building the sport and so forth. So, If they got a foothold in boxing, in my opinion, it would be the same thing as far as the boxers were concerned. Initially, they'd make money, but ultimately, they'd be like paupers.
Maybe they should be like paupers. Yeah, I said it. Fat and happy fighters don't make for hungry boxers, do they? Arum is firmly on the same side as Oscar De La Hoya when it comes to White's arrival in boxing. Calling White a cancer will grab headlines, but underneath the attack is a genuine concern shared by many traditional boxing promoters. Old school promoters sign fighters, spent years building them to world level, and take the profits when those boxers begin generating serious money. It means putting in the hard work and investing with no guarantee of a return. White has a different formula with boxing. A huge television deal means Zuffa gets paid week in and week out for staging regular events through a UFC-style league system with minimal groundwork compared to the years spent building fighters into world champions. That's the problem Arum has with White, and he's far from alone. Maybe, but Dana White getting a fix on spending in the long run is what boxing needs, unless you want to keep overpaying fighters like Devin Haney to put customers to sleep, to drive customers away from boxing. It's there in plain English. It's part of the framework. When a boxing promoter picks up a fighter and starts investing money in their career, they don't know that they're ever going to get it back. Now, where do the boxing promoters get their money from? They get their money from the networks. So when the promoter doesn't get an ROI, neither does the network, which is why boxing has become a hot potato for American broadcasters. It's a flawed system, and it always was. The timing of Arum's comments is ironic, given what White said about Floyd Mayweather at the Zuffa 08 press conference just 24 hours later, asked about the headlines surrounding Mayweather and his reported $170 million financial dispute. White revealed he's already spoken to Floyd. That's a tough one. I've talked to him about it, but I don't know enough about it, White said. You hear all of these different stories. I think you have to wait to see how this thing is going to play out in court for him. When somebody works as hard as he did and amasses that type of wealth that he had, and then they lose it, or it gets stolen, or whatever the deal is, it's horrible. It happens a lot in professional sports. White then left the door open to helping Mayweather. Who knows? Anything is possible. Maybe we could do something and figure it out for him. Zuffa's boss knows better than most how to make money with Mayweather after helping put together the lucrative Conor McGregor fight in 2017. How many people in boxing, traditional boxing promoters, did you see offer to help Floyd in his current crisis? Because remember, Dana White is supposed to be the bad guy, but Dana White is the only one offering Floyd any sort of assistance. Now, Floyd Mayweather is a great example of how the Muhammad Ali act as it is, without any additions, without any augmentation, was flawed from the very beginning. Because how could something like this happen to the richest boxer the sport has ever seen? How could he have been robbed of so much of his money if the Muhammad Ali act is foolproof and everything it's made out to be? How could this have happened? Dana also told WBN and other reporters in 2024 that he could try and figure it out if working with Arum was ever necessary for Callum Walsh. 2 years later, White is using almost identical language about Mayweather. Arum believes White's boxing model could eventually leave fighters like paupers. Oh, because that hasn't been happening already? Dana White, meanwhile, has already spoken to one of the richest fighters in boxing history and is publicly considering whether he can figure it all out for him. I'm not telling you that Dana White is the savior of boxing or that this new framework will fix all of boxing's problems. I'm just telling you the existing one is already flawed. If what people are worried about is fighters getting screwed out of their money, fighters getting jiked, ending up broke, yeah, that's been going on long before Dana White got here. So what's everybody's real problem if that's the case? Healthy competition. A new player within the boxing sphere makes everybody's jobs just a little bit harder because they've got so many resources and so much money that could, in effect, drive the cost of everything up. To hang on to your fighters, get them to sign with you and stay with you, and not go with Dana. The problem that the people in boxing now have with Zuffa is the same problem that Top Rank and Golden Boy once had with the PBC. There are obvious differences between Zuffa and the PBC, but it's the same underlying problem that these guys are going to make everybody's jobs harder and drive the cost of everything up. Which is what ended up happening in the American boxing space. Now, Bob Arum's never been a fan of Dana White's business practices or his UFC.
It's for homosexuals and skinheads.
So this rancor between him and Dana goes much further back than just the inception of Zuffa boxing. They've never seen eye to eye on anything. They've never been on good terms. And this is just another chapter in the same book. So don't believe the cover story about worrying about the boxes and how they're getting paid. That's not really what the beef is. They just say that to discourage the fighters from signing to Zuffa. Give them a bad reputation. Drag their name in the mud so that the fighters don't go over there. The real beef is that Zuffa's going to come into it with all their money, make their jobs harder, and drive the cost of everything up. Just in keeping with the theme of things that Bob Arum said, Bob Arum explains why Terence Crawford would still be trouble for Jaron Ennis despite Boots' own switch-hitting ability. Jaron Boots Ennis' dominant stoppage of Xander Zayas has reignited talk of how he would have matched up with Terence Crawford before the former undisputed champion retired. Many view Ennis as the closest stylistic comparison to Crawford. With both capable of switching between orthodox and southpaw during a fight, Bob Arum, however, believes Crawford possessed a rare advantage that would have made him a difficult puzzle for anyone to solve.
Crawford is an awfully good fighter, and it would take a real wizard to beat him. Crawford has something that no other fighter around has. He fights equally well as a southpaw and a right-hander. Usually the fighter he's fighting trains for him as an orthodox fighter. And so from the first round, he'll turn southpaw, and the guy isn't ready for him. That's what beats Spence.
I think that Crawford's switch-hitting ability has been sort of deified the same way that Floyd Mayweather's Philly shell was deified. To the point where it is almost overstated. People tend to forget that Floyd Mayweather actually used to alternate guards from the Philly shell to the high guard depending on what was happening and who he was fighting. But because of all the mythos around the Philly shell, that's all you ever hear about. So it's the same with Crawford's switch-hitting. To the point where it's almost overstated. Switch hitting is when you switch from orthodox to southpaw, back over to orthodox, whereas when Terence fought Spence, he didn't actually switch. He came out southpaw and stayed southpaw. He didn't have to switch. Arum was referring to Crawford's 9th round stoppage of Errol Spence in July of 2023, a performance many still regard as the finest of his career. If my memory serves me, Terence didn't switch hit in that fight. He came out fighting southpaw and stayed southpaw. But irrespective of that minutia, the virtue of being a switch hitter is overstated. Switch hitting for Terence Crawford isn't a secret weapon per se, and it's not the only thing that makes him a good fighter. It's just a part of it. See, he's already a fantastic fucking fighter. So a fantastic fucking fighter who can fight out of both stances.
Yeesh.
It's effective because he's a fantastic fucking fighter. You can be a shitty fighter out of both stances when you think about it.
There is that.
Boots Ennis, though, differs from most of Crawford's former opponents. The newly crowned unified junior middleweight champion is also comfortable boxing from either stance, regularly switching between orthodox and southpaw without sacrificing his offense. That would likely remove much of the surprise factor Arum described. It's about conditioning the opponent to expect certain punches to come from certain angles, so that when you switch, you throw them off. But I don't actually think Boots Ennis' switch hitting is on the level of Crawford's, and Crawford's success was never built solely on switch hitting. His ability to read opponents, make adjustments between rounds, and capitalize on mistakes helped him capture world titles in 5 divisions before ending his career with wins over Spence and Canelo. The fight never happened before Crawford retired, leaving it as one of boxing's enduring what-if matchups. Arum's view is that Crawford's versatility would still have presented Ennis with the toughest test of his career, despite the similarities in their styles. I don't wonder about this what-if matchup as much as some others do, because I made up my mind on it a long time ago, and I think we got the evidence of what would happen in the 3rd round of the Zayas fight. Zayas, who's nowhere near as experienced as a Crawford, and nowhere near as good a finisher, was able to noticeably hurt Boots in the third. So you're telling me that a guy who's not that experienced and isn't even known for power was able to hurt Boots very early in the fight? Swap him out for Crawford. Not only would Crawford hurt him, Crawford would finish him. What are we still wondering about this for? Is it because there are a lot of people out there that are still looking for someone who could have beat Terrence because they're mad that he beat Spence or they're mad that he beat Canelo? I think that's what it is, because this is not a hard pick to make. I'm not going to waste any more time on it. If you want my opinion, and you're here, so I'll assume that you do, Crawford beats him. Crawford stops him. That's my pick. That's always been my pick. I see no evidence to the contrary. Now, I would rather focus on fights that stand a better chance of happening than that one, because when it comes to that one, that ship has sailed.
Another guy that they're talking about Boots facing is Josh Kelly. I think Josh Kelly's a little bit more difficult fight, believe it or not, than Virgil Ortiz. Styles make fights. Josh Kelly don't look like much, but he's quick. He got good reflexes. He got some pop on his shots. He's very deceiving. And he got legs. And he gonna move around all night, and Boots gonna have to chase. He gonna have to chase. And he gonna have to chase. And you know, Boots don't really like to chase. You can hear it when they talking. Well, if he's standing right there in front of me, it's gonna be night, you know, it's not gonna be a short night. They like guys that stand in front of them. Virgil Ortiz, yeah, they like guys that stand in front of them. That's what they like. But I think the fight's gonna be a little bit more challenging just because of that aspect.
I agree with everything Timothy Bradley said, because most of it I said myself.
All of it.
Aggressive fighters like Virgil Ortiz that want to stand in front of Boots, swinging for the fences and trying to apply pressure, play right into his hands. In spite of Virgil's punching power, there's a strong possibility that getting froggy with Boots, you're going to run into something. So if you want to give Boots issues, you don't charge at him. You circle away. You don't sit there punching with him and selling out. That's why Xander got stopped. That's why Virgil would, whereas Josh Kelly, he's gonna buy himself time, even if it costs him rounds, circling away, staying on the outside, and trying to pot shot to work off the counter. At minimum, that would buy him time, so that maybe he lasts a little longer than Xander. Not because he's more durable, but because he's taking less punishment. He's not engaging. Now, there is a lot of talk right now from the Virgil Ortiz side of things about maybe doing the Boots fight in the fall. Talk that I've no stock in. I don't believe that fight happens this year, but the Josh Kelly fight might. 3-belt unification match. And it would be all down to Matchroom to do it, so there wouldn't be many competing interests to have to overcome. Maybe Josh Kelly can drag the fight out into the later rounds. Maybe he can last a little longer than Xander Zayas did, though ultimately, I do think Boots would get to him. Eventually, he would stop Josh. There's one guy already did. David Abanesian. That's a good fight. I'm looking forward to it, if and when they make it. I've got Boots.